Okay, now we would like to, as Hashem, continue the shiurim on the Mitzvos of Sukkos. Now we'll go to the mitzvah from Mitzvah of Sukkah. Actually, it's fascinating. When it comes to this mitzvah, we're all excited that we had a yontif, that there was no rain. You know, we'll get a little worried when it starts getting cloudy and things like that. And the yontif, that most of the yontif that we were able to eat or sleep in the sukkah, we're very excited. But we forget about those times that we miss, actually, the opportunity to sit in the sukkah. The mitzvah of sukkah is shivas yomim. Sukkah, you have to sit 7 days in the sukkah. Eat in the sukkah for 7 days. Nothing so exciting to miss a day, an opportunity to sleep in the night in the sukkah, or to miss a suda in the sukkah. Why we so excited that we had most of the yontif we were able to sleep in the sukkah? You know, that's a tragedy that only most of the yontif were able to sleep in the sukkah. You know, most of the time we kept the mitzvah from mezuzah. Most of the time we kept the mitzvah from tefillin. Most of the time we kept the mitzvah from kashrus. Most of the time, we're supposed to be sitting 7 days, day and night, in the sukkah. That is supposed to become our house. It's not enough for most of the time. There are places, as Hashem will speak, we'll see that most of the time they weren't able to come in the mitzvahs in the sukkah. And when they were able to eat or sleep in the sukkah, they were very excited. And that's a tragedy. That's really a tragedy. You know, when you get hungry, you're satisfied with a few crumbs. Our obligation is to do the mitzvah 7 days, day and night, to be with the B'Shalom in the kedusha and of sukkah, and be b'simcha with him. If it rains during Yontif, it's as if we're pushed away from the B'Shalom. We'll get into that, because I'll say we'll get into that soon. But the actual, just understanding that in galus that we can't sit in the sukkah 7 days and 7 nights, we can't sleep in the sukkah 7 nights always. That's a tragedy. Yes, it's happy we could do it most of the time, but when we don't have the chance, even a little bit, it's like we've been mevatel the mitzvah, not eating a couple of years, not eating matzah the first night of the night of the seder, not having dal kaisis for the seder. Most of the life I had with matzahs. You will think you're crazy. The mitzvah sukkah is 7 days. Yes, there's a patur from tzar parah to sukkah, so there's no patur of not eating matzahs, but it's the same idea. It's the same idea. In the Erets Yisroel, they could be mekayim. It's a normal thing to do mekayim mitzvah 7 days, 7 nights. You know, and when we're not able to do it, they're upset. It's like, oh, we weren't zchus. So it's important to understand. You know, obviously in America now is a little better, but in there were places in the world maybe it was better. But all along galus, it was not like that. It was a terrible thing. We weren't able to do the mitzvah for sukkah the way it was supposed to be, and this is something that we should look into and appreciate what we have in our generation. In Erets Yisroel or in America, we have more or less again. Appreciate all those days that we do have, and be upset the days that we can't do it. Understand that it's a mitzvah sukkah. It's supposed to be like it's in Erets Yisroel, not like it's in galus in Poland and Russia. It's a sukkah. The Eibishter created Erets Yisroel for the Torah and mitzvahs. The galus is a makom of bittul Torah and mitzvahs. And understand that we can't go in the sukkah. There's something wrong with us. Okay, the Gemara says in Mesech the sukkah daf chav vav amud aleph. Tani Rabbanan. The Rabbanan learned oichlin achilas arei chutz l'sukkah. We eat. You're allowed to eat achilas arei, temporary. Eating, not official eating outside from the sukkah. You're not allowed to sleep even a little bit out of the sukkah. And that's how it's paskin, the shochnarach, some tafraish, amates. The oichlim, v'shoisim, v'yishenim, you eat, you drink, and you sleep in sukkah, kol shiva, all 7 days. Bei b'yom, bei b'layla, sai b'tog, and sai b'nacht, sai b'day, and sai b'night. Ve'en yishenim chutz l'sukkah. You're not allowed to sleep out of the sukkah, full of shittas arei, even a small little sleep. Kommt später there is the Mordechai. He says that v'gam askinim mishmaatzin she'asa lishn chutz l'sukkah. It's aser. We'll see the Gemara. It's aser to sleep chutz l'sukkah. What's about us? We never sleep in the sukkah. Och en seinchem ha'olam. The welt is seimechan. Al Dovazeh, on this thing, Sheyireim and Atzina, that they're terrified from the coldness. Have a Kachol Sheim Sakana, it's like a Chol Sheim Sakana, the Potam and Sukkah, the Potam and Sukkah, I should start the Potam and Sukkah. We're actually Cholim, we're like Mitztarim, people that can't are non-functional in the Sukkah. They can't be functional in the Sukkah. So the Potam people, not everyone can live outside in this flimsy boards. So the Hashem said, the Potter. But that's not the way it's supposed to be done. They're scared of petrified from being cold. In times of the Mordechai, most of the world was not Mekayim the Mitzvah from Sukkah because it was cold. This is what we find all over. The Meiri brings down. We're makel not to put our beds in the Sukkah and to sleep there. Because it's very cold outside. It's a sakana to sleep outside. In these areas. It's all to have kshamim, harben, a lot of rain this time by his man. And that's why we have a heta. He says, and our rabbis were noig in the first nights, in the first days, they would sleep a drop with their clothing. They're a chim of mitzvah. That's chim of mitzvah. That means they would show their rots and the wool and their appetite to sleep in the sukkah, but they weren't able to. Rabbi Menoach says the same thing, that the achshav hekelu b'shinem sukkah, in the time, and they were makel to sleep in the sukkah. And it gives two reasons. First of all, because pirtza koil ganav, they were scared of ganavim. It wasn't so simple, galus all over to be able to sleep in the sukkah. Some guy comes and steals everything you have. And another thing he says, nafal chol sheba'alma v'ruach kimo eichram. I'm not sure what it means. I think it means cold over here also. So he says, Beyoim the lekel ameichesh. L'gneva, there's no, you can't, not b'cheshesh v'gneva, also lishach has a sukkah, you're not allowed to sleep because it's sukkah, it's not cold, I guess, and there's no ganavim. In the worms, Varmaisha, it says over there, today the minig is not to sleep in the sukkah. Kim anshe maise, only like a chashuv of people, yichude skula, and when yichude skula, the spashet came b'chol hagoyla. In the whole galus, no one sleeps in the sukkah. And that the March is brought down in the Ramah, Simon Tov Reish Lamed Tes, Mashna Hagen L'Hokal Achshav Shina, and he goes into the topic because of coldness or because of other reasons. In the Ramah here comes Kedaka Kodesh Lamed zchus. He brings down the Marcha. And the Bach says, very interesting wording of the Bach. In the Erets Yisroel, in Russia, it's struggled to be cold, freezing during Sukkos. And anyone that gets cold is struggled to get freezes is part of a sukkah. And he says, and of course the anima pata she'elam abishul hagen alem pnetzino. Understand what it means being poor. They didn't have anything to watch themselves from being cold. Pturim, their potter. Kishinatzlu menatzino b'tzeisem menasika. These words are actually fascinating. That the anim, they don't have any clothing to warm themselves, are potter from the sukkah. Why? When if they go out, they'll be nitzel from the sukkah. I mean, not always did the aniyim, when they went into the house, was the house anything warmer than the sukkah. That's how poor they were, and that's how freezing it was in Russia. And the Aruch HaShulchan says, the beginning is Shalom and Roiv Shalom has Mamkar Moed b'Sukkos. Most of the years it's freezing in Sukkos, and Ein Lecha Mitzvah Yosem Zeh. And he says many times you can get sick because of it, and you can get nizik because of it, and you're potter. Ramad the Begraya asked his brother, the Belzer Rebbe, why he wasn't the minik to sleep in the sukkah in Belz. And he says, in the answer, I answered, my grandfather, Bishua Belz, used to sleep in the sukkah only the first night. Why? Because the freezing coldness would make him sick. And he wasn't able to sleep there more than one night. And that's how it was every year. And my father, he says, didn't sleep in the sukkah because he was freezing, and it would make him sick. He says technically he could have made a bed, which around the bed you have some shades, curtains which hold back the cold. He says, but then he wouldn't be able to breathe good. It was a sakana for him, so that's why he didn't do it. That was the matzav of sleeping in the sukkah. It was terrible. the Klal Yisrael was not able to be kind of the mitzvah of sukkah, kiroi, the part of the mitzvah of sukkah they weren't able to do. Now, that was when the guy is sleeping. But we also know that many places it rained during Sukkos, and wasn't able to be kind of mitzvah of sukkah. Chazal say when on rain, Yodi Geshomim, when rain comes down, when are you allowed to leave the sukkah? When the bowl of soup or whatever gets ruined from the rain, then you're allowed to go in. What is this like? Chazal say famous mashal. A slave that comes to pour a cup of wine for his rabbi. He took a whole bucket of water and threw it on him. And he says, I'm not interested in being Yisham. So to us, we go to do the mitzvah and sukkah, and Hashem says, I have no interest in you. Don't give me your mitzvah and sukkah. It's fine without you. And the Gemara in Tainus brings us down halacha l'maisa. That really we were supposed to ask for rain in the beginning of sukkah. That's the time when it's time to rain. But we don't ask it. Why? Because it's a simon klala. Because of the reason we just stated. If it rains in Yontif, it's a simon klala on sukkah. And this is brought down al Shulchan Aruch and Meshabura that was roiti maske hatzoyes mayim the first day of Yontif, not the last day of Yontif, because the Chag is when we're down on the mayim. But because Shomim is a simon klala, we don't mention it anything until after Yontif. And we already mentioned the Meiri. The Meiri says that in his places, now obviously, when it rains, you can't sit in the sukkah, you can't even eat in the sukkah. Not just forget about sleeping. He says that the minig was to be makel to sleep in the sukkah because of the rain. Obviously, that was the reason why they didn't bring in the bed, but they didn't eat there either when it rained. And a lot of places they would weren't able to make kind big part of the yontif when it rained. In Antwerp, it rains constantly. It's raining a lot, and it's brought down from Yaakov Chavaska that he would give a lot of tzedakah for Maribel and Ness. That before Yom Sukkos, in order, even though he always did, but he would give it now in order that it shouldn't rain while because you kind the mitzvah of Sukkah the way he's supposed to. Because in Antwerp it was always cloudy, and it used to rain constantly. And there are different stories from that. Now, this halacha is brought on Shulchan Aruch that you're supposed to go out. That again, when it says in Shulchan Aruch that when you go out of the sukkah because of rain, you shouldn't get angry. It got so wet, stinky sukkah. No, you're not allowed to do that. Chas v'sholom. You have to go out. Maril says that if it rains, you're supposed to go out and feel bad. Hashem poured in you a whole pot of water on you, and he says, "I'm not interested in you to be mishamash." And the Ramah writes this: it rained there, and that's what you're supposed to do. Maril, he wasn't in Erets Yisroel. We do know us in Galus Nebuch, we menachem ourselves with the famous. It's brought down in parentheses in Aruch HaShulchan that there is such a concept. Tfasemis seems to bring that down. He was masculine to the pshat. Mishmei Shalom brings this down that this Gemara, this Chazal, that it's like the Hashem pours a whole bucket of water on you is only in Erets Yisroel, not in Chutz La'aretz, because in Erets Yisroel it's not the derech to rain. Mashiach in Chutz La'aretz is the derech to rain. So first of all, even according to them, it's true that the time is not a simul klala in Chutz La'aretz, let's say. But because that's normal, how can it be simul klala if it's normal? But the truth is that according to them, the whole galus is a klala. You can't do the mitzvahs in the sukkah and galus is because it's a klala. It's not made. That is a klala that we're in a place that we can't do Torah mitzvahs. They're just saying that this is not a specific simon klala for galus, simon klala for yontif. Let's say the beginning of the year, maybe. But they totally agree that this is a big problem that you're in Galus, that you can't do the Mitzvah of Sukkah the way you're supposed to be doing. That's number one. And number two is that, again, we said over, the place can bring this down all along Galus. They never said such a thing. It's not brought down in the Gedolah Pesach or anything. All the Ramah and everyone else disagrees with this. In Chutz L'Aretz, it's a simon klala. It's not a good thing when it rains. It's a tragedy to be mevatel the Mitzvah of Sukkah. Just like one day, someone's tefillin is possible, someone's Torah is possible. You can't do it. You can't do mitzvahs. It's the same thing. And that's what the Pesachim say. And that's why we don't mention we're not masked kshamim on the whole sukkah. It doesn't say Chutz L'Aretz is different. They say, okay, go going according to Erets Yisroel. The truth is that it's definitely the place can bring down that when you leave the sukkah, this is halacha l'maisa. When someone leaves the sukkah, he has to go b'achna. It doesn't say Chutz L'Aretz is different. And that's the halacha l'maisa. And that's how we're supposed to look at it. That we're in Galus and we can't do mitzvahs. It's a richok. And those that are in Erets Yisroel, or those that are in places that is warmer, they say, thank Hashem for the opportunity to do the mitzvahs and bask in Hashem's love. Because not being able to do the mitzvahs is kas. It's Erets Yisroel Rabbi Aponov says, I'm not interested in Mishamashu. In our generation, which most of the Klal Yisrael has it easier to do the mitzvahs, the B'nai Shalom is telling us, Efshir Mishamashosach, the whole Galus, the tzaddikim, kedoshim, mamish, people that we don't come to the toenails, that say what? That weren't able to do the Torah mitzvahs in Galus. But now Hashem gave us the opportunity, and the B'nai Shalom is telling us, and those tzaddikim that Hashem said, that's what it says. The Gemara says it. I'm not saying it. It's scary to say it. If it wouldn't say it, I wouldn't say it. But the Eibush told the Gedolim tzaddikim, but now us, kleine murichkes, us little bugs, compared to them, Hashem is telling us, I want your shimush. I want you to be mishamash me. And we should embrace that and love that. And like that, Hashem will give us all the rest of the mitzvahs and will build the Beis HaMikdash.